A resting giant that sits all alone. A research facility long abandoned. A civilization hiding beneath the feet of surface dwellers. A dark cavern filled with secrets. Praise to a silent god. A world sitting in rest ran away from the kingdom that oppressed them. This is the story of the Luck SMP. So today, we are going to take a look at everything that has happened from Season 1 all the way to Season 7. Of course, starting with Season 1. Here we have a chest, very unassuming at first glance. It simply sits here as a monolith of the night. Its interior is completely made of seemingly human-made resources, but we'll come to find out that they aren't. This is the most independent story of the Luck SMP, as it has no direct ties to any lore, at least not in the state it is now. Now, to get this entire story, you would have to watch back some older, worse videos about the lore of this place. Specifically, the finale, where on a copy of the world we sacrificed ourselves numerous times to the new Skulk block coming out the next update. But this all has its own due place in the lore, as with everything. And it's going to take until we really understand what the Skulk means to this lore before we can really call that. But this structure here is not made of man. It is a mimic here that has been slumbering for hundreds of years. Slowly but surely it's been overgrown, corrupted by the humans who had begun migrating to places nearer and nearer to the beast. That was until one day a crazed man decided to punch a hole into the beast, making its way into its interior, never to be seen again. The hole would seal very quickly after it happened. A rescue team would be sent after him years later. They would find the interior of the beast completely made, looked like human-made, but they would quickly succumb to what terrible fate the crazed man before them did. This is a deadly beast, a force to be reckoned with, all sitting here in the form of a giant chest. We see a research facility. People had begun going missing around that chest area, so investigations were in order. A handful of samples were extracted and brought to a very remote facility, far, far away from anything that could be harmed by its research. They find the stuff that was once contained within the beast slowly leaking out. Samples were brought here to be studied, along with another site that was found just below the research facility's limits. While yes, there was research conducted on every type of block, most of the research is lost. Only a bit of it was ever preserved or sent out. That which I will show on screen right now in the form of an article. The entirety of the underground exists without knowledge of anybody above it. A world completely foreign to anybody. And very interestingly, a people with their own devotions. Over here we see the Moss Block, one of the gods of this world. The Moss Block provides much next season, but for now it sits as just another silent god. Here we have the civilization existing peacefully in ignorance of the peoples living below its own town hall. The world sits silently, as it was abandoned just recently. The reason for which nobody knows, but the underground still sits populated. People still live beneath its surface. Here we have the Bloody Cave, an entire monument erected to an anomaly, a glitch in the system that took its form in heads of rabbits that used to line these halls. A ceremonial chamber where sacrifices were conducted. The sacrifices of rabbits, of humans, of human blood. A cauldron to hold said blood in. There was once a meeting that you can still find uploaded onto this platform. A meeting where we all had a chant. And my words, my own little sermon went like this. Someday blood will rain down upon us, just as the day the gods died, and the wicked shall drink the blood of the innocent. Up the pearly white stairs, we see a futile attempt to recreate paradise from a man who lost his way. This man will later be known as my own character, of course. All this mountain was, all this cloud was, this paradise was supposed to be, was a replication of the society he used to live in before he was taken into this game. We see a very devout man spending his entire life on the server, attempting to find the ways of the Father after his scrape with the rabbit infection. This glitch he once gave himself over to now became the bane of his existence, turning his eyes to something more. And if I do recall, in here, there are a couple of his journals. Here, these are all legal documents, but over here, we do indeed have a journal. I have no idea about what happened after I entered that temple. No one has told me anything about it, not even Father. My new form allows me to consume every part of food. It allows me to change my form rapidly whenever I want. I have to consume more food because of my new form. Father has been nice and allowed me to live again. So, I have built a shrine to him, and no one knows where it is. It has been a few days since I have let Braden move in with me. It hasn't been as lonely since then, and my supplies have increased. Father wants me to tell people about him. Outside is an area outside. There is an area outside of Gavin City that I plan to build a temple in, so that people can worship their deity. Lily and I share similar beliefs. Maybe I should head out to her temple. Recently, Father has disappeared, and I don't know why. My memories from before the temple don't make any sense anymore. I am told that I just had a really... I don't believe that. Gavin broke into the holy room recently. He did not have a fun time that night. It has been 2 weeks since Father disappeared. He is still not back. The other day, I ran into a strange entity, but when I got close to it, it disappeared. I kept seeing bunnies, and they don't look right. Father has returned, and he doesn't look right. The meat doesn't really taste right. Sarah has been acting weird since she seems to be acting. Gavin seems to be going crazier every day. I remember something about a cult, but I don't know why. Father is acting strange. No one else sees the bunnies. I remember what happened at the temple now. I think I should name the entity. I saw as the rabbit. Father has left again. I'm not sure if he will come back. I now know what happened after the temple. I must forget about it for the greater good. If I ever come across the rabbit, I will try and kill it or subdue it. I think that since I was already controlled by it, I should be safe from being controlled again. I showed this book to someone earlier, and they said some of the text is replaced by error. But I can't see that. I see what I wrote. What I wrote. I think that as I learn more, the book covers more with error. I wonder why. I'm starting to prepare to go on an adventure to find where that temple was. I'm going to stop writing in this journal, and just in case somebody is reading this, I think. And there, the journal ends. An entire documentation of what happened to this poor soul. But his story still sits, yet still unfinished, still unraveling in front of our eyes. Over here, we have what was supposed to be an entire kingdom. The kingdom of the Crimson Towers, ruled over by a very, very malevolent leader, a tyrant, you could say. This peaceful farming village gets no rest, as they're forced to work. The tyrant wishes to see that his entire kingdom be ruled over as fit, and up till this point, everything that has happened has been within the kingdom. But that is very quickly going to change. Sanctuary, as they called it, was built as a place completely away from the Crimson Towers, built solely for refuge from it, in the bowl given by mountains. There is a bit of an article I wrote about Sanctuary, about the journey that the people here took to find this sanctuary and to build it. But if we come over here, really quickly go back into this town hall, we will see that there is another journal contained in here. Another one detailing the journeys of our same rabbited friend. Journal 2. I think, hold up. I have some level of certainty that there is in fact another journal still contained within the walls of his house. It looks as if I was correct. Day 1. I'm setting out to find the temple of that. I am bringing plenty of supplies with me. Day 4. I haven't had much to write about in the past couple of days, but today I found a village that is larger than normal. Day 5. I think I might come back to this village later. The coordinates are on the page that was torn out. Day 20. I seem to be forgetting things more often now. 23. I almost died today. 24. I feel like I'm being watched. Day 27. I found the temple. Tomorrow, I will check it out. I also noticed I was writing in lowercase sometimes. I didn't find what I was looking for, but I did find a weird piece of technology. I returned to that village, but it seems a bit off. Day 35. I have been gaining supplies from the village to continue my exploration. Day 37. The village was raided, but most of the villagers died. My supplies are safe, but I lost my arm. It's kind of hard for me to write with only one arm. Day 38. I can't do much with only one arm. Day 39. The weird piece of technology, it now oddly looks like an arm. Day 40. I am going to try and put the technology where my arm used to be. Day 41. It worked. Though I feel empowered. Page ripped. Day 50. I feel like I don't belong here. Day 55. I have been having weird nightmares of a highly advanced civilization. Day 58. I have been hearing Father's voice sometimes in my nightmares. Pages ripped. Day 70. I have found a weird mountain range. I'm going to explore it. Day 71. I found more people here in this weird bowl-like valley. A house that was partially destroyed. I'm going to fix it up and live here for a while. And of course we know he does. Journal 2. The people I met here and I build a town hall. I have somehow gotten myself into a position of power. These people came from a kingdom far away. They say they tried to rebel but failed. I think I've heard of this kingdom before, but I don't remember. I keep having those weird nightmares, and they're starting to feel more real. I feel like I have been incredibly close to dying recently. I still remember Father. I tried to look for some buried treasure, failed miserably. I still have no clue what happened after the first time I went into the temple, and I don't think I can ask anybody here about it. I'm still capable of shape-shifting, even though I'm missing an arm. The mechanical arm morphs to fit whatever it would be on the body. The things are showing up in my books, and I don't know why. I think I'll settle down here for a while, and leave when I'm ready. In this town, though I did not flip the page, though I can survive without me. I've been talking to the townsfolk about why they are all the way out here. They said there was a tyrannical leader. I feel deja vu now whenever I have one of those nightmares. I feel like they aren't nightmares but real, so when and how did I get these memories if they are memories, and why do I see technology never discovered before? About a simulation, and that I worked on it. I've started seeing Father in these memories, and I'm not sure why. I am still unsure as to why the people of Sanctuary are very nice and often ask me about the stories I have of my adventures. And the journal, of course, ends there. Those stories are all that is currently completed on the matter of Nicholas's character. A shapeshifter devoted to a deity named Father, who provides promises of things beyond his ability. Of course, we do see that Father goes silent, comes back, but odd. and then disappears once more. Father, you will find out what happens to him at a later date, as not even I currently know the entirety of the story. But as you can see, he made his way here to Sanctuary, which sat somewhere between the Crimson Kingdom and the temple he was after. Of course, Sanctuary itself was made by those running from the tyrannical leader, as mentioned in the journal, and has served as one of the greatest rebellious forces in the entirety of the tyrant's history. But they certainly won't be the last. Now, to explain the rest of this, we need to leave Minecraft here for a second. We need to get ourselves a nice little tab of Google open. Chronicles of Luck. Here we have the story I spoke of, the story of a man going missing in that giant sleeping beast, a resting creature 3 stories tall, looms over anyone that happens to get this close without being crushed to a pulp or eaten whole. But the beast sits dormant, and of course, you can read through all of these, which will be copied and pasted exactly as they are into the description. We have journals from the researcher on the 887B facility, which research all of the anomalies that take place, but of course specializing in anomaly 887B and 887A. But over here, we do in fact have the entire bit of document. Over here, the synopsis. And I will read this whole thing to you, all 3 pages, so. Synopsis. The Perfection Project. It was going to be the best thing that ever happened, the pinnacle of humanity's existence, the final perfect society where everyone lived in peace with each other and could do whatever they liked. Anything was within reach. In 3058, the final attempt at perfection would come around, after countless attempts finally solving the problems that wrought by humanity, and all struggles individuals would face in a lifetime. This success changing the whole world forever. The traditional government systems were erased, mental health forever cured, aging stopped entirely, and harmony with nature was finally struck. People called this more than the Perfection Project, but the embodiment of perfection itself. And things would continue this way for years, countless generations that never experienced the death of a loved one, the coldness of being alone, the emptiness of boredom. But perfection is imaginary, and the true meaning of the word utopia came to reveal itself as no place. The structure of the flawless society would soon fall. The infinite possibilities were falling short of infinite, as everything a person could do was soon running empty. The people of the Perfection Project soon became a split party, with some sticking to the old name, covering up the ugly truth that lay beneath, and the rest going into hiding, who became known as the Rebellion. Their attempts to return to an old day, where life being relentless but futile. Few dedicated individuals soon began to recognize the true problem of society, the lack of escape and illusion of it. It doesn't matter if there are endless possibilities, if they are constantly accessible, and with no more innovations being made, life serves no purpose. The researchers began to truly realize the importance of death, a release from whatever ails you, but soon came to the conclusion that because death has been essentially cured, they need to find another way. An underground development began to occur. After controlling the nature of the project, controlling nature of the project came to light, that aimed to create an alternative release to death, pioneered by 2 brilliant minds, calling themselves the Eye of the Hawk, being myself, and the mind of the galaxy, being Braden's character, as not to reveal themselves to the demented perfectionist society. This thing that they began to develop with the help of a handful of other developers was the first of its kind, Project Ejection. Everyone's hopes were held high as the first attempts of making a vessel that could contain human consciousness was beginning. The Eye of the Hawk stands close over the shoulder of the developers, and as the simulation readied is launched, the test command is run. After many years of testing and hard work from the team, the first result of their works would be examined. One key is pressed on the keyboard of a dev, possibly the most important keystroke ever made by humanity, and on the screen appears a hulking entity, pixelating the entire screen of the simulation to the point where it's almost unrecognizable. A horrible failure. The beast stands tall, its large shoulders looming inside the screen with its intensity to move a grown man to tears. Its body amalgamated with elements that sent many devs to never return. But just as every detail of the beast could be observed, the simulation abruptly crashes with the error message, simply Error 887B. Test_1 failed. The sharp hit of some punching on wood is the only sound that resonates as the hawk winces and turns to the blank to look at the blank wall, tears welling up in his eyes as nausea takes over his mind. The sharp pain that shoots through my neck with the speed surprising even myself, shouting with a stern tone in my voice. Of course, here we take a shift of perspective from we go to the hawk. Sharp contract of my usual accepting tone, ordering everybody back to work. The tests fly by, every single one looking more and more human-like, but the extreme blocky nature still left behind by 887B is still a reoccurring problem. But slowly the hulking form of its first test condensed into the first habitable form, a man standing at around 2 blocks of height, the new measurement that had to be implemented due to the 887B error. But with a simple feature, a face with a short hair, blue shirt, jeans, and the capability to fix humanity. The following tests were extremely dark. We had officially reached the testing phase, where they had to attempt to animate life in the simulation, in which many bodies were dehumanized and mutilated beyond comprehension. The agony in their voice still yelling out from their undying forms. This would later be deemed the Symphony of Sorrow. Of course, this being also referred to as the Skulk in-game. Test after test, the first animation chamber was working properly, with the first person to ever be put in the simulation redacted. The true nature of these experiments still revealed themselves, as the first player, as they were called, had lost all memories, communication, self-awareness, and was hardly recognizable as human. This character would come to be known as Lily's character, which would of course go by many names due to the memory loss. The AI was made in about 2.5 attempts, with the first test not only of the AI but also operating controls from outside the animation chambers, as there so far was no coming back from them. World 2.5, as referring to Season 2.5, and the simulation was riddled with problems. The AIs were acting abnormally, the controllers weren't working as intended, and the first animated body was still plaguing the area, along with error 887B still not completely wiped from the files, was still a recurring issue. Even in its current form, there was another entity plaguing the system, something not showing up in any of the code or files. They were named Error J 2012, as referring to J's username, and of course J's character. The errors will continue to be solved with every bug fixed, opening a path for 2 more, and often a 3rd lying just beneath the surface. While all these advancements made in a simulation now reached release version 2, the mind of the galaxy had begun questioning my morals, feeling as if the project had become less about bettering everyone and more about my selfish gain, even more supported by the cacophony of pain coming from the test subjects. The plan was simple. The galaxy would trap me in the still highly experimental animation chambers, and the galaxy and a few of his dedicated devs would turn on the machine, either destroying me like I did so many others, or trap me with and the AIs in the simulation. But of course, I was none the wiser to this plan until it was too late, I fear. And after, of course, this describes the event of the Perfection Project leading into, what was it called? Project Ejection, which will, of course, be known as Minecraft. 887B leading to its pixelated nature, which I should change 887B as it's incorrectly referred to here. This should actually be being referred to 887 Alpha, as you'll see over here in this document. But over here, we have Voices from the Depths, which is a bit of a script. You will not be able to see this. More info on the season, you know. All of these are small scripts, small descriptions of what's happening. Of course, most of these are blank. Here we have Heart of the Sanctuary, so I guess I don't have to have this open. The Anvil scene, that's going to be this. The Long Dream of Life. This is supposed to be of life. If you haven't read through the end poem at Minecraft, that is canon. But this is going to also be the end scene of the movie that I'm making. Of course, we have the journals. Nick did, in fact, transcribe all of his journals onto this Google document. So, you know, we've already seen these all. But left set. Now, some of these journals aren't contained within the thing. This is the first journal. Journal 2. I'm setting up the temple to find. Yep, we've read all this. The people I met here, we've read all of Journal 3 too. Journal 4, though. This book was found randomly in a forest. Half of it's still missing. For the last couple days, I have been constructing an airship. It doesn't look like the best, but it does the job. I have noticed the villagers of Sanctuary have been looking at me differently. Sometimes I think I am like a needle in a haystack. What I am insinuating from that is that I feel I don't belong. I feel small amongst the greater world. I started gathering supplies for my next journey. The townsfolk don't seem to like me anymore. Illegible text. The other day, I overheard townsfolk talking about how weird I am. They have to be crazy to think that I'm weird. I've been noticing weird things happening. I noticed someone watching me from afar. I talked to people about it, and they all called me crazy. I'm starting to remember what happened at the temple. The nightmares are getting longer and more intense. Illegible text. I know now everything that happened at the temple. Father created the rabbit, but I'm not sure why. The rest of this journal is missing. This is the other half of Journal 4. The pages found blood-stained and ripped. It was found miles away from the proper Journal 4. I've left the sanctuary and I'm currently writing this while approximately a mile in the air. Illegible pages. I left Sanctuary after being shunned by the villagers and getting called crazy. I still don't understand why they think that I'm crazy. Illegible pages. I don't know where I'm going, but I will keep going until I run out of food. The journal ends here. Over here, we have scientific documents, which is, in fact, all of this document, so I can close out of that, too. Of course, I will not be reading this one, but it will be in the description. Extra information. Appendix A. Power of creation. The power of the creation in this world does not work as usually described. It's slightly accessible to everybody, but people who are gifted with the ability to build without normal worldly restrictions. But some people... for example, a town can be built without the power of creation, but it would require a large amount of time and effort, where people with the power of creations can create cities by themselves over the span of a week. Over here we have a series of old screenshots I've found. Of course, they are nothing too special. Here we have another journal. This world is quite different from hell. I don't think I will miss my home in hell. I quite like it here. I don't know whose journal this is. I found a nice place to fix up. I have found my spells are weaker here. I found a friend. Other documents, of course, those are just links. So yes, that is all of the lore. While this is not actually all of the lore, there is still much more to be seen in the future. There's still much more already. This is the big overarching sort of section of lore here. Of course, over the coming weeks, you will begin seeing individual lore videos. We'll see an isolated video for every season and its lore. We will see an isolated video about every player and their lore. So of course, there is still much more to come. But let's talk about the lore of Season 7 here at the very end, as it's another, almost more interesting one here at the end. So, of course, Season 7 is still in progress, and not all of the lore is completely figured out. But we come over here, of course, we do indeed have my base, where a native population is being completely taken out of their land by this project, which is a project by the same scientist that worked on Project 887B and wrote most of the documents we will find. But it was also built for workers to inhabit this top part, but the workers aren't supposed to know about the main pit. But most of the lore this season actually takes place with Nick once more. Over here, we do of course have the Mark of the Father, which, you know, that's a cross. Even though the Father is silent, of course, he is still worshipped. And after the incident with the airship, it looks like Nick has begun digging tunnels. For whatever reason, I still am not aware, but of course, there's still a story to unfold there. So, with that, this lore episode comes to an end. Of course, we're going to look at every season independently, more in depth. We're also going to be looking at every character independently, more in depth. So, if you would like to see that, go ahead and subscribe, as that will be the next, bits of content coming out. And with that, I will let my editing self take you away with the outro.